Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another edition of Infection Podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on X at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, check out our website, infectionpodcast.com. Look at this guy, very patriotic himself. Brian with an I, Aldridge. Brian, I also have a little bit of patriotism going on in here. Look at this. It says...
little blue with
I can't read what it says on the camera. It says USA. Yeah, the glare from the lights makes it USA. Cheers to you, Brian. Happy 4th of July. Hope all is well.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and we're going to be doing something with family, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Excellent.
All right. If you want to find me, you can find me at Boise Computer on X or at Brian Aldridge on Gab, Getter, Truth Social, and other places.
So
Nick,
Brian.
Yes.
So, Brian.
Go right ahead.
So, you used to give somebody a firm handshake, and that was a good thing. And then this guy randomly pops up, and you're starting to wonder to yourself, what is going on here? I've got this guy who is presumably a multi-millionaire streaming on Twitch with a comb talking about being a man. Turns out he's messaging, a 14-year-old girl? Brian, your guy, the doc. What happened? 7 years ago, he was banned from Twitch. All hell broke loose last week. What's the deal?
Well, if you remember all those years ago, it was
seven. Can you believe it was 7 years ago that he was banned from Twitch?
That's
nuts.
But if you look, people knew it was infidelity of some sort, because he got his wife involved on the streams, like she was about to leave him. Yep. He groveled to her, and now we know why he was groveling so heavily. It was because it's been confirmed. And one thing that for me made me notice and take it seriously was when Midnight Society sent out a tweet.
Who's Midnight
Society? Is the company that he co-founded that we're making video games. So I'm going to read this tweet really quick just to give you an idea, because I saw people throwing out allegations and things before this, but this kind of brought it home. It says, on Friday evening, we became aware of an allegation against one of our co-founders, Guy Beam, a.k.a. Dr. Disrespect. We assumed his innocence and began speaking with parties involved, and in order to maintain our principles and standards as a studio and individuals, we needed to act. For this reason, we are terminating our relationship with Guy Beam immediately. While these facts are difficult to hear and even more difficult to accept, it is our duty to act with dignity on behalf of all individuals involved, especially the 55 developers and families we have employed along with our community of players. So that he stepped away from that company, or I don't know if he had a choice in it whatsoever.
No. You don't get a choice when that happens now.
Because they sign all these contracts when they start things like this, and this would have been a breach of contract, something that would bring this much negative attention to the company, which could cause the company to fail.
Yeah.
So they let him go. Oh yeah, it's a huge liability. And so then you had Dr. Disrespect, who sent out a tweet, and he pretty much confirmed.
He confirmed the whole thing.
Well, he confirmed to a point.
Before you get to that tweet, I'd like to go to this tweet first. This is a former Twitch employee who said...
that's what kind of started it.
And again, this is 7 years ago, which is insane that we've been part of this entire process. We literally had Dr. Disrespect, playing H1Z1 with us, rise to the peak, banned from Twitch seemingly out of nowhere, then over to YouTube. This guy, Cody Connors, who is a former Twitch employee, tweeted, quote, he got banned because he got caught sexting a minor in the then existing Twitch Whisper product, which I didn't realize Twitch owned Whisper at any point. Nevertheless, he was trying to meet up with her at TwitchCon, the powers that could be read in plain text, closed case gang. So 7 years later, it turns out he was messaging an underage individual, and he confirmed it via his Twitter account. Did he not?
Yes. So here's his response. He says, "Hello, I'd like to make a quick statement. Let's cut the effing bullshit." Wow, this is
Go ahead, Brian, please. It's a family-friendly show. Go ahead.
Let's cut the effing BS. As you know, there's no filter with me. I've always been upfront and real with you guys on anything that I can be upfront about. and I'm always willing to accept responsibility, which is why I'm here now. First and foremost, I do want to apologize for everyone in my community, as well as those close to me, my team, and everyone at Midnight Society Game Studio. Because he released this like the day after that Midnight Society post, so people then knew that something did happen. A lot of people have been left in the dark about what happened yesterday with Midnight Society and I, and we have made the painful decision collectively, he claims, to have me step down. Our team is full of incredibly talented and good people that have high career ambitions and families, and I'd never want, he missed a word here, jeopardize the culture we have carefully crafted. Everyone has been wanting to know why I was banned from Twitch, but for reasons outside of my control, I was not allowed to say anything for the last several years. Now that 2 former Twitch employees have publicly disclosed the accusations, I can now tell you my side of the story regarding the ban. Were there Twitch whisper messages from with an individual minor back in 2017? The answer is yes. Were there real intentions behind those messages? The answer is absolutely not. These were casual, mutual conversations that sometimes leaned too much in the direction of being inappropriate, but nothing more. Nothing illegal happened. No pictures were shared. No crimes were committed. I never even met the individual. I went through a lengthy arbitration regarding a civil dispute with Twitch, and that case was resolved by a settlement. Let me be clear. It was not a criminal case against me, and no criminal charges have ever been brought against me. Now, from a moral standpoint, I'll absolutely take responsibility. I should never have entertained these conversations to begin with. That's on me. That's on me as an adult, a husband, and a father. It should have never happened. I get it. I'm not perfect, and I'll effing own my own ass. This was stupid. Now, with all this said, don't get it effing mistaken. I've seen all the remarks and labels being thrown around so loosely. Social media is a destruction zone. I'm no effing predator or pedophile or are you kidding me? Anyone that truly knows me effing knows where I stand on those things with those types of people. F that. That's a different level of disgust that I effing hate even hearing about. Don't be labeling me as the worst of the worst in your exaggerations. Get the F out of here with that S. But I'm just reading it. But I think I've said what I need to say regarding the ban itself. That's it. That's why Twitch made the decision in 2020. To my team, community, industry friends that I have supported or that have supported me, I apologize. I wish I could have said all this sooner. You guys have always showed me and my family love and support throughout all these years. We love you guys like you can't imagine. I have the effing best community and circle. If any of this has made you uncomfortable, I get it. You don't have to support me anymore, but just know you have always been greatly appreciated. But trust me when I say this, to all my haters that live and breathe social media with zero real life experience, I don't give an F about you. Finally, if you are uncomfortable with the entire statement and think I'm a piece of S, that's fine, but I'm not effing going anywhere. I'm not the same guy that made this mistake all those years ago. I'm taking an extended vacation with my family, as mentioned on stream, and I'm coming back with a heavy weight off my shoulders. They want me to disappear. Yeah, effing right. So
firm handshakes, Brian.
Yes. And then he supposedly is taking a vacation from streaming for a while.
Pre-planned. It happens in traditional media. It happens in Twitch and YouTube. Oh my God, this huge controversy. I was planning on being on a vacation anyway. So, Brian, so he admitted it. I mean, he said that, I had inappropriate conversations with a minor. And you do have to ask yourself, now I'm nowhere near the level of Dr. Disrespect. However, I am in the public sphere in some level. How does this happen? I mean, you're talking about a guy that was when he was on Twitch at the top of the top, like the top 0.0001% of individuals streaming on Twitch. How do you get in the rabbit hole of thinking it's Whisper, by the way? I don't know if you've ever watched like all these Predator guys on YouTube, like DAP, Dads Against Predators, and Chris Hansen back from 20-something years ago. Whisper is like the app they always bust these guys on because it's it's like Signal kind of. It's an encrypted peer-to-peer chat system, so you can't subpoena the company and get access to the data. Sketchy as hell, but he admits to doing it. I mean, I don't know how you go from the level he was at to thinking it's appropriate to, and he says no pictures, no whatever, but he admitted to doing so, sending inappropriate texts to a minor. You think maybe the orb just gets too big, and you think you're the sun, and the world is revolving around you, and that's what happens. I don't understand how people fall into this. And it's not a new story. This happens frequently. Unfortunately, you've got these people in high places that get roped into this stuff. This is not the first time you've seen. And he goes, don't call me a predator. Don't call me a PDF file. How else would you describe messaging an underage individual? I mean, that's a serious crime. I mean, in prison, those guys are not taken to very well. He says, no criminal charges, no this, no that. But not a good look for the doc. And I cannot believe all these people out here, Brian, carrying his water. You have the quartering, who for a period of time I thought was a decent guy, saying, oh, this is total BS. There's nothing here. Ignore all of this. What the hell are these guys buying into?
Well, and I think he kind of came around. Well, there was a point where he finally, with the quartering at least, where he realized. He
flip-flopped like a dozen times. Yeah. You have a guy that's alleged. Oh, Brian, here's the statement. I don't know all the facts of the situation. I'm not sure what's going on. I assume it didn't happen. I know Dr. Disrespect. He's a great guy. Hopefully no information comes out. Instead, the quartering, the stupid jackass that he is on the fence going on both sides. I mean, This guy was messaging a minor underage. There was obviously litigation against it. A settlement agreement was reached before it went to trial, and you've got people planting their flag in the ground saying, he's our guy.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yep, and that's where, for a situation like this, how would you treat anyone else? Because we look and see all these predator shows. There's a guy on Twitter who does this for pretty much a living.
DAP, that's what they do. Dads Against Predators. One of the guys got shot in a Target
it's an
this
individual
week.
Guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is a real thing. And, this is the response to his tweet. Yeah, this is some guy that responds. Chris Hansen, Dateline NBC, original How to Catch a Predator.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who are trying to look past it because it's him. Now, here's the other side. I don't know if you've looked at it this way, but let's say a lot of Twitch employees, people that are on the very left side of the aisle, this is something they've been promoting as should be acceptable. That this is, I mean, if he would have been an underage male, then they would have viewed it as a positive thing, right? Because he's helping that young man, according to them, figure out homosexuality and who he is. And this is something they've been pushing. So it's like, this really has to put some people at Twitch kind of in a bind as far as how they're supposed to think about it, because they're supposedly promoting this, but then their company's banning a guy or, kick a guy out of a huge contract for doing it. It's strange to me that the news media is and these companies are acting like this is a bad thing when so many of these companies have tons of employees that push this sort of thing on Twitter or X now.
Well, one of the things that the conservatives are falling into, like the quartering, is they're like, oh, well, this guy at Twitch, he's a leftist guy, so we just need to kind of ignore his comments, and that doesn't work. I mean,
but if he's telling the truth, I mean, if he had information, it doesn't mean that what he's saying is lying. He may be pushing these facts out just because he doesn't like who Dr. Disrespect or Guy Beam is, or what he represents. Because I mean, he portrays a masculine type of white guy that is the opposite of who they normally be promoting on Twitch nowadays. Sure. And so they hated him because of that, but he was so lucrative. They must have loved that this happened. Is it for so many people it got someone they viewed as toxic off of the network?
It's amazing it took so long to come out, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I don't know how many people knew or had this insider information about it. If a lot of Twitch employees had this information, they must have really strong NDA agreements. Something that really scares people because I'm surprised that it didn't come out. The specifics of it didn't come out earlier because I didn't hear anything about underage for, until recently.
One of our listeners is messaging in this morning that you have a close relationship, Brian, and says, weren't you underage when Brian and you started talking, Brian? This is a message coming in from one of our devout listeners this morning that you may or may not have relations with. So I'm putting it out there, Brian. That's all I'm saying.
Hey,
I'm not saying anything.
No pictures were exchanged.
No hotel rooms in Boston. No hotel. No Airbnbs in Seattle. Nothing of the nature.
Yeah, this is where context definitely comes into play. Right? Because that same situation played out. Be like, yeah, so you flew to Boston and you met an underage. Well, at that time you weren't underage, but I don't think. Boston? How old were you?
What year was that?
Oh, I can't remember anymore.
It was pretty close. Nevertheless, you should see me trying to explain this to my family and friends. Like, oh yeah, I'm driving to Boston. It's 3.5 hours. I'm going to meet this old guy from Idaho and this guy from St. Augustine, Florida. Totally legitimate. Nothing crazy going on in this whole situation. I'm surprised it took so long to come out because, again, this was like 6 or 7 years ago that he was banned from Twitch. This is not a new situation that popped up. But
this isn't the only thing that came out of it, too. There's some other things he lost, and we can talk about that when you're ready.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I struggle to understand. And maybe it's part of the fame and glory, Brian, when you're the man, when you're the doc, when you're this guy and you're the peak male in the situation, the alpha male. That was his whole persona, firm handshakes, all of this stuff. You just fly a little too close to the sun, and I guess that's what happened with Dr. Disrespect. I don't know how this situation unfolds. Well, how do you comprehend it's appropriate to be messaging an underage individual on an app that, if you watch any of the Predator stuff, which is prominent on YouTube, prominent on Rumble and Instagram and TikTok, they all use this Whisper app. If you watch any of these guys that track down these predators, they're all using this app. This was not Twitter DMs. This was not Facebook DMs. This was not Twitch messages or YouTube or anything like that. An app that is specifically, unfortunately, used for this purpose a lot of the time. I just don't know how you fly that close to the sun. It's unconscionable for me.
And if I remember correctly, Twitch got approached by the Center for for Protection of Children because I think because of these tweets. Like, if I remember correctly, I'm trying to remember where I read that, but it was supposedly that he got caught up and they found him, and then they contacted Twitch, which then created this bad situation. Supposedly, this is according to that Cody Connors. He says he was trying to meet up with her at TwitchCon,
which doesn't seem like the craziest thing in the world. You're messaging a minor on Twitch. Yeah. You're the hottest guy on Twitch at the time.
A meetup, right?
It's only plausible that you would meet up at TwitchCon, which is the event for Twitch streamers and all of their fans. It's not beyond the pale of believability, is it?
No, and this is where if they could release even a redacted version, because the person on the other end of the messages was underage at the time. They may be an adult now. Maybe if they signed something saying they would allow, then they would show the unredacted version. But take that person's name out and let people see what he said. If he was being very sexual in his conversation, and then he was also discussing meeting up with her at Twitch, then he's just as bad as those guys that you sit there and look at on TV or, these various,
But he says he's
shows.
not. And I just have a hard time believing that.
But they all say they're not either, right?
Sure. Yeah, they show up
the first time I
Chris
never,
Hansen.
ever.
Oh, I just showed up with some pizzas
I just
and a
wanted
zucchini
to warn
and some
them
condoms.
Of the dangers.
I had no idea this was going to happen. Oh, you want some lemonade and a cookie? I mean, How to Catch a Predator was a very popular show because of this. None of these guys... First time they catch the same guy 3 times over the course of the series, and every time he says, "This is my first time."
Yeah. And so that's where them saying this doesn't really mean a lot, because a person who truly has a problem, is going to say that. And we've seen it over and over and over again in those shows. They say the exact same thing. But I think here, if they could release those messages, it would make it clear. Because I don't know if it was kind of innocent and, just enough to get him fired, or if it was
BS.
him blatantly trying to meet up with. But because they've never released it, we're all assuming.
No, I don't think we're assuming.
He could be worse.
But hold on. I don't think we're assuming. Twitch is not going to fire. So, Brian, you're a 13-year-old girl. You're messaging Dr. Disrespect because you're a big fan of his content. And you say, oh, my God, I love your content. And he responds back with, first of all, I don't know why he's on Whisper. Nevertheless, he responds back with, and I will admit I've never used Whisper, so I don't know how it works, but I assume it's either phone number based or username based, like WhatsApp or Signal or one of those other services. Thanks. Appreciate you listening to the show or watching the show, the content, the games, whatever. There's no way that message in itself translates to be, again, he was one of the 0.001% guys on Twitch, the top tier of the top tier. You don't get terminated from Twitch unexpectedly for telling somebody, thanks for watching my show. I know that I don't like peddling in assumptions, and I'm not going to peddle in assumptions, but you can only assume if there was a settlement, if this made it to the point of settlement, it had to have been more than, oh, I appreciate you watching my content. There's no, that's not even a lawsuit at that point. It had to have been more egregious than that.
And that's where I think probably he was then going to meet up with them at TwitchCon.
Sure.
Is where the line was drawn. Because there can be flirtatious talk to a point that won't get you
not
arrested.
With a minor.
But I'm saying that won't get you arrested, or maybe not even get you fired from a large contract, right? That may get you a warning. But whatever it was, he must have crossed that line. And if what this person is claiming is accurate, then I think that line was then trying to meet up with them. Even if he claims he wasn't going to. Entertaining and joking about the thought is enough. Like, anybody who hasn't got caught doing it, anything short of that is always going to say it was all just jokes, or it was just, we're just saying things.
He should have really just played into his macho man character. I mean, if he really wanted to just kind of nullify all of this publicly, he should have just played into, oh, I was in character. Firebomb.
Yeah, I was character. I was just, but the thing is, he knew that she was underage. So that must have been a thing where she said her age, right? That should have been where he cut it off. It just said,
you don't say? You don't think, Brian, at that point you go, oh, maybe it's not a good idea to be messaging a 13 or 14-year-old female on Whisper as a, what's it, your age? In his early 40s?
He's a little bit older than me, I think.
Okay, so he's in his late 40s?
He's almost 50, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so, I mean, at any point, it's not appropriate to be messaging a 13-year-old more than the fact of, thanks, appreciate your support, thank you for watching.
Actually, he's younger than me. He's 42 years old.
Same difference. I mean, you're at the point where you... So when this happened, he was in his mid to late 30s. Mm-hmm. I think it's appropriate to say that you knew what, and you know what is or is not appropriate at that time.
Yeah. And he should have known, and probably the kind of going into his midlife crisis. I mean, I don't know why you would be when you're at that point. He was on top of the world.
Midlife crisis. He's pulling down millions of dollars a year.
I know, but he's got to still be somewhat insecure. He's got to still be somewhat insecure because of his age compared to everyone else in the industry that's competing against him.
Sure.
I mean, who knows what plays in his mind at that level, to where he's insecure, to where he feels like he needs to talk to somebody who's under. Like, I don't understand the draw, of whatever it is that draws those guys to do that. I don't understand it. And so I don't know what he was trying to fill. Like, I don't know what hole he's trying to fill to.
No pun intended. I disavow that one. I completely disavow those comments. Those are Brian Aldridge's comments.
I'd like to redact that last phrase.
I'm not on the screen.
Strike it from the record.
I had nothing to say with that. It's not in the transcripts. I disagree with anything Brian said. He's my co-host. I don't speak for him. He doesn't speak for me. As long as we got that clear.
Yeah. So, whatever it is in his life that he's trying to feel better about, It's just I don't get it. You know, he had everything he could want in life, but obviously that wasn't enough, right? You can have someone who has an awesome wife, an awesome life, and that they still cheat on their wife. I don't get that. Like he's chasing something when he has everything he should want. Like, why are you so dissatisfied?
Well, and that's why I asked the question, like, do you believe at a certain point that the sun is revolving around you? Like, you're the center of the universe and everything is spinning.
You're above the law
orbit.
at some point. Like, that seems to be where people, when they get to
what are you, the Supreme
stardom
Court?
level, a lot of, there's a lot of people that seem to think that they're above the law, and that since they're famous, they don't have to be held to the same standards. I mean, there was that somebody's wife of like a police officer, and this guy's just or a military base commander or whatever, and his wife gets pulled over on the military base. She says, "Do you know who I am?" He's like, "Yeah, you're this guy's wife, and you're speeding on the base. You're going to get a ticket." It's like, but she had that expectation, and who knows if that's what he thought. I'm so popular, I'm so needed by Twitch. What are they going to do? That could be his mindset.
And I'm sure that was part of his mindset, but there's a difference between speeding on a military base and, Brian, I'm not trying to brag or anything. Kind of a big deal. I have the T-shirt to prove it. Not whatever. There's certain levels of perks that you get. At no point is it appropriate to be messaging a minor sexually, which is what he admits to. I mean, at no point can you justify that as, oh, I'm too big to fail or I'm above the. There is no justification for that at any point, at any time. Doesn't matter if you're a random Joe Schmo or you're Dr. Disrespect pulling down hundreds of thousands of viewers a night on your Twitch stream. It's never appropriate. 0% of the time. Zero. And he admits to doing it. That's the craziest part is he goes, yeah, it's true. We didn't send pictures back and forth, but everything else was true.
Well, and this is one of those crimes where once you get labeled as that, like everyone cuts you off, right? And rightly so. But I think that with this is one of those where I don't know how he comes back from it. If he can turn around and say, hey, that's something that was a mistake, and get people to actively watch him on YouTube without him constantly being harassed, because he was already constantly harassed about the 2-timer. Right, which was the whole beginning of this. I don't, how does he come back from it? I don't know that he will. He may just retire. He's got enough money. Like if I were him, I would sell the house, move into something more long term that doesn't require all your funds, and retire early, because he could retire very comfortably with how much he makes now if he chose to.
Firebomb is messaging in on our Twitch chat. He says, do you think he'll come back from this? If not, it's an epic fall from grace twice, the 2-timer. Regardless of how you feel, he was the biggest streamer and head of the game for a long time. And that's accurate.
Yep.
So does he come back from this? It's amazing to me to watch people like the Quartering, who is a total buffoon, who I liked for a period of time, but he's off the reservation at this point, defending this, Brian. I mean, they're coming to this guy's cover like he did nothing wrong, even though he admits, quote, were there whisper messages with an individual minor back in 2017? The answer is yes. At that point, it's said and done.
Yeah.
With a minor back in 2017, yes.
Yep.
To me, he admits it. It's not like there's no speculation at this point. Were there messages? You're not on Whisper messaging your fans. That's not a chat room for you to be talking with your audience.
And
there's only one reason you're there.
Well, and just look at the whole Epstein Island thing. For some reason, people, when they feel like they are the ones in power, they start going after kids. It's the weirdest thing. When you could have almost any woman who's chasing money.
You could be Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, who's dating an 18-year-old or 21-year-old?
Yeah, I mean, they expire at 25, according to him.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, for some reason, when they get to that level, part of the I'm a man is, pursuing someone young. And it's like, but when they're a minor, it's like, what are you really proving? You're not really proving you're proving that you have the ability to be a predator. Because my kids, like I can imagine, I'd hate it if someone were trying to talk to them and do these an adult was trying to message them in these ways online.
Okay, so Brian, you've been through this. I have not, because I'm a young man. But so you're in your mid-30s, and you say this, Brian. These were casual, mutual conversations that sometimes leaned too much in the direction of inappropriate. At no point is it acceptable for somebody in their mid-30s to be messaging somebody under the age of 18. Like, for any reason that could lead into that.
But I don't think
why are you casually messaging a 13 or 14-year-old? Besides,
but even if he's just throwing out flirtatious things, I think it has to be beyond that, and not just flirtatious, because I don't think they would have let him go for just being flirtatious.
But that's my point. Is at what point you're in your 30s, you're married, you have kids. At no point is that appropriate.
Was he have kids the age of this kid? I mean, I don't know what age his kids are.
They're probably a couple years younger, but I mean, that's what I'm saying is he admits to it right here. Nothing illegal happened. No pictures were shared. No crimes were committed. Yeah, because he didn't physically do anything. He didn't physically send any pictures. It's real scummy.
Yeah.
The two-timer. Disrespected. Look at this guy.
Yeah, I don't.
He's right here.
Yeah, that guy.
Look at him.
Right there. Watch out for that guy.
Well, yeah, watch out for that guy. Watch out big time.
Well, remember, he had his little kid come on stream. He's been married to his current wife for, I think, 16 years. But his daughter's pretty young. So, he doesn't have any older kids. But still, his daughter now is getting to be closer to the age of the kid he was messaging.
I'm sure he would not appreciate a Twitch streamer in their 30s messaging his daughter.
No.
I'm not a father. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be one. But my guess, Brian, my assumption would be that you would not appreciate somebody in their mid-30s that is at the peak of their career, if you want to call it that, messaging your daughter. I know that might be a bridge too far, but it just seems like that might be just a little bit inappropriate, a little bit off bounds.
And I pulled out a part of that original message when someone was talking about this. And they said, I recall, and they're talking about what Dr. Disrespect knew at the time. I recall that Dr. Disrespect was made aware by the individual that they were underage during the conversation, after which he indicated that this was no problem and continued on. So that's the wording of it. He said there was no confusion. Messages sent after this was acknowledged were no less graphic and in sexually explicit nature than before. So he said, in this guy's opinion, is that leaned too much in the direction of being appropriate, as he might indicate that it's more than that.
We've got a message coming in from one of our valid listeners this evening. Brian, you mentioned at the start, this was the same guy that already admitted to cheating on his wife in this same time period.
Well, but I thought this was the incident, and he was claiming he was cheating on his wife to cover it up. I mean, that's what I assumed, that was the cover story for this whole incident. I don't know. Apparently maybe there was cheating also. Because I thought he cheated on somebody at the TwitchCon. Supposedly.
Well, no, because that would have been a criminal act.
No, but if it was somebody else, then it would have been at TwitchCon. Because that's originally the cover story that I heard, was that he had an affair with somebody at TwitchCon.
Which may have also happened, but it was not apparently related to this case of him thinking it was appropriate to message a minor.
Which means he was definitely in that I'm going to be unfaithful to my wife mode.
In 2017, he broke character to deliver the news that he had been unfaithful to his wife. He apologized to his fans, supporters, and to Twitch, and then took time off to focus on his family.
Yeah. I just assumed that was the cover story, for the reason that he got fired and everything else.
What a scumbag.
Yep. And that's,
the two-timer, the four-timer, the six-timer, the eight-timer. How many times? I mean, who knows with old Dr. Disrespect. So, Brian, here's the real question. Firebomb asked it earlier. Does he come back from this? Your thoughts?
I don't think so. I don't think he'll come back to streaming, at least. And he'll have a tough time getting back into the industry. He's toxic at this point. A company's not going to want to approach him with any kind of deals. He's not going to get any kind of sponsorships. He lost was the NBA
his own
2K.
company?
His own company. NBA 2K is removing him from the game.
Oof. That's not good.
They also there's some more. His headphone company that he had a partnership with. I think they're releasing his. So I guess he won't have those headphones anymore that they're selling. Let's see. Oh, yeah. San Francisco 49ers, he was used in promotions. They'll no longer be working with him. Turtle Beach is the ones who I was thinking before. All Doc branded products are going to be removed from the website. A lot of the streamers have been Tim the Tapman, Nick Merckx. They're pretty much distancing themselves from him. Yeah, I think those are the big companies. So, yeah, he's getting washed out of all these things. I think he's in some other. Isn't his likeness in some other games? I haven't heard. Yeah, and I don't know that we'll be removing our Dr. Disrespect episode. We'll keep it up on the air.
I mean, look at this guy. Would you support this guy, Brian?
I wouldn't trust my kids alone with him. That's for sure.
All right, enough of the Dr. Disrespect one. No firm handshakes. This guy's a scumbag. He's a predator. He's a pedophile. Obviously, you're not messaging. You can't tell me it's appropriate to message an underage individual and go, "Oh no, I'm not like these other guys they talk about. I'm different. I'm different than all of them." We've all watched How to Catch a Predator. We all have watched Chris Hansen through his entire career. Yeah. That ship doesn't sail here, Brian.
Yeah. So. Well, I'm assuming this will be probably some of the last news of Dr. Disrespect.
No firm handshakes going forward.
Unless something really bad happens.
Rats. Right, what else is going on?
I want to mention one thing really quick that I was surprised about. Daybreak acquired another company, Singularity 6.
How is this possible?
I know. They don't really sell anything. They're just hosting servers for people. And I don't know if this is one. So here's a note that they said. Actually, I'll read the whole thing here. We ultimately want to get Palia into the hands of every gamer that wants to play it, and we believe that we can best do that by partnering with Daybreak, who have a proven track record of building gaming communities for the last decade. That lasts for decades. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm choking. Yeah. Help! Building communities. I mean, I guess that's one way to describe it, Brian. Right?
Yeah, we look forward to benefiting from their experience, expertise, and investment into Singularity 6 and Palia. Singularity 6 is an excellent addition to our development studios, renowned for their success in creating large-scale online games and content. Their debut title, Palia, is a fantastic addition to our online portfolio.
This is a new game. This game's only been out like a year or so. So this is a relatively new studio that released. It's an MMO, which is what, at this point, Daybreak specializes in, whether it's PlanetSide or the various Lord of the Rings onlines or Star Wars that they own. It's a Switch and Windows game. It's not available on Xbox, not available on PlayStation. So presumably Daybreak is going to bring this to consoles is kind of what I'm reading into, getting to all gamers is kind of how I'm reading into it.
Yeah. And it's an interesting looking game. It doesn't look super advanced, but we'll see. I mean, it's kind of more along the style of what their games would be. It almost looks like a Fortnite though. As far as the graphic style, I would say it's pretty close to Fortnite.
I'd like to read from Wikipedia. 1 month after the game's release, Singularity 6 laid off 49 employees, or 35% of its staff. Another 36 employees, at that point, 40% of its workforce, were laid off in May of this year, making its third round of layoffs since September. So there's probably at this point, 20 some odd individuals left. It's not a very big studio, maybe if that at this point.
And that's probably where they want them to maintain the product. I mean, this is kind of what they've turned into. Remember, I said this a long time ago when we saw them bringing these certain games into the fold, is they are becoming the company where games go to, or I guess go to pasture, not to die. They eventually will die there, but they go to pasture there. They go in the long-term kind of maintaining, running on servers. They're probably doing certain bug fixes to a point, but they just bring them into the company, and it's part of maintaining these various products that are big or semi-large MMOs.
All right, Brian, how many people are playing Palia right now?
I don't know, 15.
No, come on. Way more.
Is
than
that okay? So is that, I don't know.
Dozens,
I haven't looked at this game.
thousands more than that. Come on, give me your best guess.
Okay, I'd say about 4,000.
You're way off. This is there's a decent group of people playing this. 7,600 right now. Its all-time peak was 3 days ago after the acquisition from Daybreak at 12,000. This is on Steam, not Switch. So it's got a decent size audience. That's not a small crowd.
It's a free-to-play game.
Is it?
Yeah. So.
Well, that's what Daybreak specializes in.
Yeah, they'll get some sort of DLC packs. They'll put it into their subscription service, which they have. You pay a fee, and then you can get benefits in all their online games.
Meet the Villagers. You got to be careful. Dr. Disrespect might be hanging around in the village. You got to be very careful.
It's almost like EverQuest, but way more advanced. So maybe this is because they could never get EverQuest Next out. Maybe they're just.
I like the unique art. I like the art style. This is very much like a what's the fire starter, whatever, Marshall.
Not fire.
Firewatch. It's got
kind of a Firewatch style.
The Firewatch art. I like this art style. I'm a big fan of this art style.
Could be a good game. I mean, I haven't really heard of it until now, so. But it might be worth trying, at least on something to play on my Switch.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you probably don't. Yeah,
because I don't play a lot of games on my Switch, and I'd be fine playing it on the Switch.
So there you go. That's Palia, now part of the Daybreak family of games. I don't know if I'd want to be associated with that, but that for whatever that's worth. I saw that on their that was like today. I saw that on their Facebook like this morning.
Huh. Well, cool. And it's an Unreal Engine game as well, so
it makes sense. I mean,
I don't know how many other titles they have that actually run that engine there.
When do we get back to the H1Z1 remaster on Unreal?
Oh, we'll see. I mean, it'd be easy to make.
Yeah, I mean, the game
6 months and about 15 people, and you'd have a remake of that game easy.
15 might be an overstatement. You would probably get away with 5.
That's if you fix things.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have arrows that stick.
If you wanted it exactly how the game was, give them a weekend.
I don't think you could. I don't think Unreal Engine would allow you to make the game that they did. I don't know that the
as that poorly. I guess it would take you some time to program in all the bugs.
How do you program in floating arrows that blow up your truck as you're flying down the road trying to escape predators? I just don't know.
You have to make a really small buffer for everything network on the server, for all multitasking and everything that's going to all the different people on the server. Just make it like a 10 kilobyte or kilobit stream. It'll make it run just like the original H1Z1.
What a disaster. Can you believe that's what started this show?
I know. Hey.
What a disaster. But we're still here.
Good things happen. I had one thing I wanted to show off from Unreal. It doesn't really go with the theme of what we've been talking about at this point, but if you go under Epic, there's that game animation sample. I wanted to show this because it's something that Epic released.
Okay.
And it's really cool. If you can go to the example, there's a deep dive they do that's a little bit longer, but there's a video showing this off. And this is called the Game Animation Sample Project. It's available for download for free under Unreal Engine. And what they do is you can use these in your own product. If you're making a game or something like that. And they're doing motion matching, but they made this demo level, which has a lot of automatic movements. They're going to be updating it for a lot of various things. But this is kind of their new movement system that they've brought in for Unreal Engine. And it does a lot of things that are pretty difficult. It looks like more of a GTA style of movement.
The vaulting over objects and stuff, yeah, that's pretty legit.
Yeah, and that's a just a little sample of it. They've got a deep dive also that they did that goes more into these guys in engine talking and changing settings and showing you how it works. But really cool. I just wanted to show this off, especially for people that tinker around in Unreal Engine. Go play with it, check it out. They've got a big demo level with a bunch of different. You can switch characters, all kinds of different terrain. Or as far as levels you can jump onto to show the different rolls, climbs, and jumps. So,
and this is
check it out.
Now a default part of the engine.
Well, it's a sample project, so you can download it and then you start a project off of it or incorporate incorporate it into your own project. I've just started playing with it a little bit, just to see how easy it is to implement. But so far, it looks pretty cool. They've changed a lot of things in the new Unreal Engine 5, and so some of the old menus that I was used to have gone away. But they're making a lot of good improvements. So that's
excellent.
Epic. Well, someday we will have to get to our economy. Have you looked at how long our economy section is on the notes? We're to what, 2 pages?
It's an entire page, Brian. I mean, I don't typically like showing our show notes, but it's an entire page.
Yeah, it's growing and growing and growing. So that we will at some point have a show where we rip through a lot of those and try to get them out of the
maybe in the next couple of weeks. I want to talk about Unity for a second because, you're cashing your checks for Epic, Brian. You're the big Fortnite guy. You're getting rich. I'm over here just a poor radio host. But so I like talking about Unity, who doesn't pay me, but I appreciate being counter to you from every once in a while. A big name is joining the Unity team, Major Nelson. This is like the guy that is Xbox.
Yep.
Like anything Xbox that's gone on for the last 15, 20 years has been Major Nelson. Larry Hurd, he is joining Unity. This is a huge story, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be director of community,
which is what he did at Xbox.
Yeah, and I think that part of what we've had issues with at Unity recently is more of interacting with their community and making some poor decisions that really made people kind of bash on it or try to leave it. If they can get somebody who's kind of the hype man for Unity, who gets everybody on the same page, gets people excited about new features. I mean, I assume that's the kind of stuff, because that, from what I remember, is now what he kind of did for Xbox.
Absolutely, that's what he was the face of Mike. He was the face of Xbox.
Yeah,
when Major Nelson said something, it was a big deal
about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because people are jumping ship. People are trying to leave and go to other engines. Just when they change their pricing model. If you can get he needs to get that loyalty back of people who say, I make games in Unity and are proud of it, because that seems to have gone away a little bit more recently, just because of the press and some of the drama that's unfolded. So hopefully it's a good thing. I mean, I haven't seen anything that he's put out so far. I don't know how they're going to use them, or if, is he going to be making videos? Is he going to be meeting with people? As far as studios, we'll see. But I'm assuming he's going to be more of a public face, introducing new features.
Now, Brian, I don't give stock advice on this show. I did make a fortune on GameStop, but I won't recommend stock advice to anybody. Months ago, I told you that the Apple Vision, that's their augmented reality headset that costs like $6,000 or some egregious price. All of that software is based on Unity. And I have a whole bunch, more than I would like, in Unity right now, which I have taken a killing on. I'm down 62% overall. Nevertheless, the idea would be that they were acquired by Apple, because the Vision Pro essentially uses the Unity engine for all of their AR or VR stuff, whatever it is, whether it's augmented reality or virtual reality. Maybe this is an indication that they're playing big time in this realm. Yeah,
maybe. Maybe they're, I don't know if they're looking to be sold, but maybe they'll work out some special licensing agreement. Do you remember when Amazon's game studio started and they licensed, what was that? What's the engine from CryEngine?
Crytek?
Remember when they licensed CryEngine, Crytek? Yeah, from Crytek, they licensed that one version. And then after that completed, then they released a whole new version of their engine with all new features.
Sure.
As far as Crytek did. Maybe they could spin off something to, or was it Apple, you said?
Yeah.
I mean, a code base going that direction, let them own that, and then they'll release a new version. I mean, something like that would be a good moneymaker. But you're kind of it's difficult in the game engine, because there's people that are tied into projects that require that game engine to continue, and they've made agreements that game engine is going to continue. So short of being totally sold or creating a fork and letting them continue off a branch of it that they fully own themselves, I don't know how else they could really do it. I don't see them getting purchased. They think they're too valuable for that.
as an investor that has lost thousands of dollars in Unity, I hope Apple comes in and acquires them for a good price. I mean, it would seem logical.
I mean,
here's the reality.
Now would be the time to do it because they're kind of at the bottom, as far as people's trust.
But
they're kind of at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And that's where, buying stock when you feel like they're at their lowest. I mean, this is probably, if they don't make stupid decisions, I feel like they've learned from it. We may have a different president here come, the beginning of this next year. That's when the economy starts to when I wouldn't be surprised if you see it start to ramp up because people are so confident that Trump's going to win now. And you start seeing people invest again.
When your total return is down 62.25% as mine is, which I won't say how much money I have invested, but it's way more than I had hoped. You want Apple to come in and purchase. And here's the reality. While the Vision Pro is a very expensive device, there is a future for VR/AR. Apple has the ecosystem with the iPhone, the MacBook, the iMac, their whole Apple ecosystem. There will be something there. And if I'm Apple, I'd like to purchase the stock at what I paid for it so that I get my money back, at least hopefully. If not, I'll come live with Brian, worst case scenario. It seems logical that you would want to own the company that is I say the engine, but kind of the backbone of your 21st century technology, which is the Vision Pro. I mean, they weren't first to the market. Meta and Vive have existed on the market for 10 years now. These are VR and AR is not a new technology. Pokemon Go was popular back in 2014. It's been a decade at this point. So if I'm Apple, I want to own this company, right? Don't you want to be controlling the direction of your $6,500 device that is supposedly going to be the next greatest thing that's ever existed?
Well, can you imagine Apple not owning iOS? And now that's not uncommon. You don't picture Apple doing that, but other companies, anyone who releases Samsung, they don't own that operating system. Google does. And so,
right.
So other companies, that's fine, but Apple's never had a track record of wanting to rely on and count on anyone else staying in business or working. They try to be totally self-sufficient in how they produce and what they release. So, I would think they would.
This is the Unity splash page for Apple Vision Pro.
Yeah.
And this is what they're marketing towards.
Yeah, I just would be surprised if I I could see them possibly buying them, but Apple, if they were wanting to do something, I assume they would push something more that's iOS and Unity. I don't know if that's like the main way people make iOS games. I know that's the way most mobile games. Is Unity a really good way to make an iOS game? I don't know. If so, then that'd be a good reason for them to buy it because most of the games that are released on their platform are made using that engine. That would be another benefit for them.
Huge
You'd have
benefit.
more control over
Absolutely.
what is being put on their service. All those games, they can mold what direction it goes. If they want something that works better with an iPhone, they can implement the engine, and then all of a sudden thousands and thousands of games will have access to that new feature if they're somewhat current on their game engine. No, it makes sense, but will they do it? I don't know.
No, probably
It'd be a
just
pretty
to
big
screw me.
purchase.
To screw me, no. But if I'm Apple, I'd want to own Unity because, as you note, it's not only the Vision Pro. It's, I don't know what the number is, 30-40% of the games on the iOS App Store. The Apple Arcade. I don't know how many of the Apple Arcade games are built on Unity, but I can presume a decent amount.
Yeah. I've seen if there's a number for that. Games built with Unity on iOS. They don't have numbers, but there's a lot of them. Cuphead, Beat Saber, and Pokemon Go. There's some of the top games are made with that. They got tons of them. So that would make sense. And then they could be more in charge of the advertising on it too, because that's what Unity really tries to make their money on is with these advertisement services that they implement inside of the game.
Sure.
And then kind of make it easy to. Well, Apple could do that super easy, and they could totally integrate it with the whole marketplace. So We'll see. I mean, I'm tempted to go buy some Unity stock, but I don't know.
Yeah, you can't be worse than 62.25% down like I am. So let's see, what's the stock currently trading at right now? It is at a whopping $15.85. I paid a whole hell of a lot more for it when I purchased in. So no stock advice. We're not traders.
Well, let's talk about
GameStop
really quick.
Well, yeah, I mean, I already made my money on GameStop, so I'm good. I my down payment on my house was thanks to GameStop, so I'm all in on that.
I mean, right now they're not doing so good. I mean, they've cut jobs. They have what they call unsustainable sales decline. I mean, you got out at a good time with them, but that was one where
I could have made probably
you could say,
$30,000, $40,000 more if I had waited.
If you'd have been able to tell the future.
Yeah, 100%, because it like quadrupled or quadrupled or whatever the hell number you'd use before I sold it. Yeah, absolutely. I got screwed. I mean, I made good money, but I got screwed. Like, should have held. Should have held.
Well, one thing I found interesting is the GameStop executive chairman. He's been wanting to force consoles to support physical media. This is something that they were talking about last year. I put it in here in the show notes, but GameStop wants to force them to continue having the discs for supposedly backwards compatibility. But
good luck.
No, it makes no sense. It just makes no sense. Everything can be done with either a USB disc, not needing a disc drive, or a CD drive, DVD drive, Blu-ray disc, and everything can be downloaded off the internet too.
Or with a USB
game is
thumb
not going to be requiring internet. Yeah, you could plug one of those and it'd be just as effective, and they could have even larger sizes than what the Blu-ray required.
But here's also the reality, and I've mentioned this 1,000 times. You buy a day one game, GTA, there's a 60 gigabyte patch the day that the game comes out. So you're buying a physical copy, which is the license key essentially for the game, and you're downloading the entire game again.
Yep.
So there is no point for physical media at this point. Unfortunately, I love physical media. You can't see it in my shop, but I've got a whole shelf behind me of physical media. It's not relevant at this point. The industry has changed.
No. And I felt like that from early on, and I always got my games digitally whenever I could, because then I knew that whether the disc got damaged, any of the discs that I originally got with the Wii U, if I remember correctly, they got damaged, things happened to them, and they were no good anymore. But, I still had access to the things from the store.
Sure. All right, Brian. Well,
for GameStop.
F for GameStop. Where can folks find you on the old interwebs, as we call it? Hopefully you're not messaging anybody, but where can they find you on the internet?
No, only my wife. If you want to find me, you can find me on X at Boise Computer, or if you want to go to my my other pages at Brian Aldridge, a lot of different places to get me. Of course, my blog, biteiftech.com. And of course, if you go to our website, infectionpodcast.com, make sure you go to join us on Discord, because if you do that, you can message Nick or I directly, hopefully only appropriate messages, and you must be of age. And
sure.
We have a news channel in there. If you want to toss some links, something you think might be relevant for the show, or add some context to things we've discussed, you're more than welcome to do that. We also have 11 ARC servers running on that or on there that you can join. And there's information for that on the Discord. If you do want to watch the live show, you can do that through Twitch or YouTube. We upload the show after the fact to Rumble, where you can watch it sometime during the week. If you want to listen to the podcast, we have all the different links in the lower right-hand side. Pick whatever's most relevant for you, and you'll have a nice little landing page also for that particular episode. So the show notes are all listed with a video and audio player right in there, and then links for everything we discussed. Or maybe there's a video that we showed and that you had to listen to on the podcast form. You can go right there and view it. So it makes it really helpful for those that aren't watching. And of course, if you want to support us, there's infectionpodcast.com/support, or the menu option up top of our website.
Brian, my friend, greatly appreciated as always. Hopefully you have a nice 4th of July, and we'll be back sometime next week. It could be a Monday, could be a Tuesday, could be a Wednesday, could be a Thursday, could be no show at all. Just have to stay tuned for that. Brian, thanks, my friend. Greatly appreciate it. We'll chat with you next week.
Yep, thank you.
Alrighty, folks, you can follow me over on X at Nicholas M. Craig. If you missed any portion of the show, maybe you want to see Dr. Disrespected admitting to what everybody has accused him of doing, you can view all of that by visiting our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. It is greatly appreciated. We'll chat with you next week. Have a good one. Have a happy and safe 4th of July.